Hello and welcome to a new asynchronous lesson. Today we're doing summary making and translation. Right, so let's get started. So let me remind you of what is a summary. A summary is a shortened passage which retains the essential information, and please pay careful attention here to the word shortened and essential information of the original. It is a fairly brief restatement, which means in your own words, of the contents of a passage. Now, note you simply report back what the writer has said without making value judgments. So, you're not to give your opinion or any judgments of any kind, right? So, what are the characteristics of a good summary? Okay, number one, can be understood without reference to the original. So here I don't have to go back to understand the text. Number two is a faithful reproduction of or contains only the ideas or information of the original. Here I don't have to add any more information from outside the text I'm summarizing. And number three is a brief without any unnecessary detail. All right, so if you don't need a word or two, we do not need to just add them to the text. We have to be brief as much as possible. And finally is readable, unified whole. All right, so let's see how the marking goes with this type of question. Here we have a table of the rubrics of the summary making. Um, The first thing we have, the total is out of 60 marks, okay, on the exam paper. So the content and relevance of idea gets you 30 marks. It's out of 30. And paraphrasing, it's out of 20. And for any spelling and grammar mistakes, we have grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, it's out of 5, and the paragraph format is out of 5. So if you write in the form of a paragraph, you get those 5 marks. All right. So what are the tips and techniques you may use when you try to answer this question? Number one, read the question carefully. Here, in this question of the summary making, you have a question, so you have to read it carefully and make sure that you understand it and understand what is needed to answer it. It tells you that you need to write 4 sentences, so you do not go and write 3 sentences or 5 or 6 sentences, just 4 to get you the full mark. Ideas, steps, and so on. The second tip here is do not copy from the original text. You need to paraphrase, okay? You need to change it and make it in your own words, all right? And number three, you write meaningful sentences in a paragraph format. So it's not points we write or bullets like here, for example, but it's rather a form of a paragraph, okay? So you have to keep all those points and tips and techniques in your mind when you do the summary making question. Now let's apply this to a question. As you see here, summary making. Now it's going to be like this. Here you have the question or the instructions in a paragraph of 4 sentences only. All right, as I said, not 3 and not 5, no more and no less. You need to summarize and paraphrase the passage, okay, the previous passage, so this passage, in answer to the following question. Now we have a question here we need to answer. Why, for example, this passage, why are some mothers against the overuse of computers by children? So the first thing we understand is that we have mothers or parents that are against What the overuse of computers, not computers or using computers, it's the overuse, which means using too much computers by children, all right? And we need to know why. So we need to know their justifications. Why do they do so? All right. Now you're ready to read and understand the points that or the reason that we need to extract here. So I'm going to read it quickly. Of course, you can pause and read the passage. So it says, I am surprised that you seem to find no fault at all with computers. I quite agree with you that they are excellent means of entertainment and a valuable source of information. But you seem to forget that they have also become a source of addiction to many children. A lot of mothers nowadays complain about the fact that their children have become so obsessed with their computers and the internet that they lose contact with their friends and so grow lonely. Besides, their health is affected as they spend long hours sitting in front of the screen. Their eyes hurt and their backs ache. In addition to that, they become less performing at school because of this time consuming activity. They don't find time to do their homework well or to do some reading. Apart from that, using the internet for a long time may lead to the impoverishment of young pupils' language skills because the language used on the internet is not only full of mistakes, but it often consists of abbreviations and unfinished sentences, which doesn't help young people to improve their learning. All right, so this is the passage. Now let's go back to the question. It says, why are some mothers against the overuse of computers? Now, if we start from top, we find the writer is trying to introduce the topic. So here we have an introduction, but it is not until the line 4 that we have the question that we have at hand, which is a lot of mothers nowadays, all right, complain about. Okay, so if you compare here, you have a lot of mothers against, which is the same meaning here, complain about their children. Okay, we're talking about children have become so obsessed with their computers and the internet, and they lose contact with their friends and so grow lonely. All right, so the answer that I want, or the details, are coming in the following sentences. So this is where we should start. So, what are the sentences? Remember, we need four only, or ideas that we're going to choose here for our summary. So, if we continue reading, you'll find that here children have become so obsessed with computers and the internet that they lose contact with their friends and so grow lonely. So, this is the first idea why mothers complain or go against, okay, the overuse of computers. Here, overuse is again like obsessed with, so obsessed. So, it means they use it for long hours, all right? So if we keep reading, we have the words here besides. And now when we have the word like this, besides, it means that the writer is adding another piece of information. All right. So here we again read carefully this line or this sentence. Their health is affected. So Yes, as you can expect, their health is affected as they spend long hours sitting in front of the screen and their eyes hurt and their back aches. So these are examples of the pain or the effect they have on their health. All right. Now, these are two. We need, remember, we need four, not two. So we need to keep reading. And if we look here, you'll find that the following sentence, again, we have here in addition to. So when we have in addition to, besides, it means the writer is trying to connect the topic and giving us more information, more reasons here to go against computers or the overuse of computers. So they become less performing at school. So their performance is affected at school because of this time consuming activity. And of course, they don't find time to do their homework or to do some reading. Now, this is one, two, three. It means we have another one coming and we need to find it. All right, so we have to continue reading. So when we go to the next one, we have apart from that. Okay, now this is connecting again the topic that we have at hand. So here they have using the internet may lead to the impoverishment of their language skills. So here we're talking about the final reason, and here we have the language skills are affected. And why here the writer explains it's the language of the internet is usually full of mistakes and doesn't help them to improve their learning. All right, now this is what we need. In answer to the question, we have one, two, three, four, and we are ready now to make our summary. So let's move on and see how can we do the second thing, okay? How can you do this? We need to remember paraphrase sentence or write them in your own words. So step number two, you need to change the original sentences into the paraphrase sentences. So here, the first one says, children have become so obsessed with their computers and the internet that they lose contact with their friends and so grow lonely. Now, how can we change this sentence into our own words? All right. Think about it. You have here a lot of words that you can change to give the same meaning but in your own words. Okay, now look at this. Kids are getting addicted to computers and growing alone without friends. Now, dear students, I want you to compare and contrast. Here we have children. We can, as you see, change it into kids. Have become so obsessed, have become we changed into are getting, and so obsessed with we made it addicted to. Okay, computers and the internet, and they lose contact with their friends and grow lonely. We make it growing alone without friends. Okay, so this is a nice way. Of course, you're not required to do this, all these changes, but try to change as much as you can, okay, so that you keep the same meaning but in your own words. Now let's do the same with the other three sentences that we have chosen for our task. The second one, their health is affected as they spend long hours sitting in front of the screens. Their eyes hurt and their backs ache. All right, so what do you think we can do here? All right, so using computers for a long time affects their health in a bad way. All right, so here I made it from, or change it from here, passive, their health is affected, into using computers affects their health. All right, so here this kind of change. Now, if you can make um, words, you can change words, you can change structures and so on, and try to make it shorter and in your own style. All right, and their eyes hurt and their backs ache. I can say their health is affected in a bad way. All right. So I can say this. If you need to add it, no problem. But remember, we need one sentence only here. All right. Now, the next sentence was, they become less performing at school because of this time-consuming activity. They don't find time to do their homework well or to do some reading. And as you see here in sentence number one and number two, we did what we paraphrased the sentences. In other words, we changed them into our own words and style. All right, so what can we do here about this one? Yes, there are a lot to change. So look at this. Their study, all right, is affected and they have no time for doing homework. All right, so if I say here they don't find time to do their homework, now they have no time for doing homework. All right, you can add reading if you'd like, and their study is affected. Okay, so they become less performing at school. Again, I can make it like their study is affected and they have no time for doing homework. The last sentence here we have, using the internet for a long time may lead to the impoverishment of pupils' language skills. Now, here it means the language skills become poor. Okay, so we do it like this. The language becomes poor because of using uh, internet language. All right. Now it's time for us to connect the four sentences after we finished summarizing and paraphrasing them. And also, we need to write them in a connected form, a paragraph format, and also we need to add some conjunctions to join ideas together. So let's see this. So this is some kind of a model answer. Of course, this is just for you as a guide so you can make your own changes. And I'm going to read it for you. Some mothers complain that kids are getting addicted to computers and growing alone without friends. Moreover, they think that using computers for a long time affects their health in a bad way. Furthermore, their study is affected as well, and they have no time for doing homework. In addition, the language becomes poor because of using the language of the internet. Now, pay attention to the words here that we have a red color. This is a way just to connect sentences together since they tell me that we are adding to the main idea, all right? So this is what the final product should look like, all right? You need to have it like this. Okay, so let's move on to apply this to another example, shall we? So here we have, as you are familiar now with the passage, a short passage that we have, and we need to do the same, okay? We need to summarize the passage, okay? So summarize, read the following passage, and answer the questions below. Now let's read it together. First, let's see the instructions here in a paragraph, four sentences. Now you know, four sentences only. Summarize and paraphrase the previous passage and answer to the question that follows. What are the best strategies? So I here this time I need best strategies to get ready for the exams. So I need like tips and strategies to follow at the time of the exams. So let's read it together. Many students find that preparing for an individual class for 60 to 90 minutes per day, 5 or 6 days per week, will leave them well prepared at exam time. For some students, it does not work. That is why practitioners would recommend that students should not cram at the last second. All-nighters simply don't work for most people, and students experience declining returns on their efforts when they attempt to study for 4 and 5 hours straight. They would also recommend that students should keep their ears open in class. Their teachers will sometimes tell them about the exam study strategies. They should be in class every day to receive such help. This is particularly true as tests and final exams approach. They insist that students review their class notes on a regular basis. All right, now let's do what we've done in the last example and start here with the recommendations and tips or strategies. People, if you see here the best strategies in the question, you find that here we start with in line 3 recommendations. All right, so the first sentence is going to be practitioners would recommend that students should not cram at the last second, and we can consider this the first strategy that students need to follow for the exams. All right, now you have explanations that follows. We do not need that. Remember, we go for essential information or basic ideas. Right, so if we keep reading until we find the sentence that goes, they would also recommend. Now remember, also, okay, means that there is something added to that idea, okay? So here we have they also, all right, recommend. So we would take this as our second idea or second best strategies. Their teachers will sometimes tell them, all right, about the exam study strategies. So this is an explanation of the idea that we have already selected. So we would not take it and keep reading. And the next sentence would be they should be in class every day to receive such help. So this is the next best strategy. All right. And then this is particularly true. This is again an explanation of the idea. So finally, as you can see, we don't have any more sentences. This is the last one. They insist that students review their class notes on a regular basis. All right. So here we have made our choices, selected 4 sentences that would answer the question that we have. What are the best strategies to get ready for the exams? So this is the summary. Now let's make some um, paraphrasing, okay, as we did in the last example. So here on the left you have the original sentence, and on the right we're going to have the paraphrase sentence. Of course, you don't need to do this in exam. You can just do such work in your mind and then you write your final answer. Okay, so This is for practice. You don't have to write this table. So the first sentences you have here, this is why practitioners would recommend that students should not cram at the last second. So how can we paraphrase this sentence? In other words, what are the changes that we can do so that it's not copying the original sentence? All right, now let's see this. Students are advised. So here, recommend, practitioners would recommend. I changed the structure into passive. So students are advised to do what? To study every day and not wait till the last minute. Okay? Or you can keep the word second if you would like, of course. And the second sentence goes like they would also recommend that students should keep their ears open in class. If we need to paraphrase this, it would go as follows. Yes, they should pay attention in class as well. All right, here we have the word also, and we can change this, of course, into as well. Okay, or we can add an addition as we can do this later on. All right, the next sentence was they should be in class every day to receive such help. Um, Now, how can we change that? Paraphrase the sentence. Yes, just think about it. They should, I can have it like they ought to give stronger obligation, attend all classes to get help. Okay, so here I changed receive into get, and here we have the change that we wanted. And finally, the last sentence, they insist that students review their class notes on a regular basis. How can we change that? Very good. We can say students should review their lessons regularly. So on a regular basis, I change it into the adverb here, regularly. Okay. All right, now we're ready for the final product as we did in the first example. So this could be the model answer to your summary. So here it says to get ready for the exams. First, here I'm going to use the chronological order first, second, third, and finally. Of course, you can, because here we have steps, you can use the ones that we used last time. Anyways, you need to write in a paragraph format and use suitable conjunctions or words to connect your ideas together to make it easy and readable for the reader. So here, to get ready for the exams, first students are advised to study every day and not to wait until the last minute. Second, they should pay attention in class as well. Third, they ought to attend all classes to get help. Finally, students should review their lessons regularly. All right, that's all for this lesson, this time for summary making. All right, and let's move to the second part of our lesson, which was, yes, translation. So in translation, we change from Arabic into good English. All right. So we need to do this. And we have two sentences in the question that are related to the textbook and the lessons that you've studied. So you should be familiar with words, okay, or vocabulary used, and all you need to do is to adjust your structures to have good English sentences. Okay, now here are some tips you can use. The first thing is, or the first one, translate ideas, not words. We're after ideas, so don't get stuck on a word trying to get the exact word that you know. Try to get the meaning or the idea and not the word itself. Number two, use proper connectors. As we did in the translation, the summary making, we need to do the same in translation. And number three, I noticed some students would write longer sentences. You need to keep sentences short, all right? Just exact and to the point. And finally, pay attention to coherence, all right, of your final product. Now let's have examples of translation sentences. Translate the following into good English. You have basically you should have on the exam you should have like a dialogue or two sentences in Arabic, and you need to translate in English. They're not three. This is just for explanation purposes. All right. So let's read and try to analyze the sentence before we translate it. Okay. So number one. يعتمد متوسط عمر الإنسان على عاداته الغذائية ومدى اهتمامه بممارسة الرياضة. Okay, so this is sentence number one. Now here we have what the first word here we have is يعتمد, and this is what? This is a verb. Okay, and متوسط عمر الإنسان, you studied that in unit 7, which is the word, remember? Yes, exactly, life expectancy. Now here we have يعتمد as a verb, على and prepositions. So we have a verb and preposition. Okay, they come together. عاداته الغذائية, this is what? Yes, I'm going to go الغذائية first and then عاداته. Okay, because in English we do this. So ومدى اهتمام, this is the second. So here I have another sentence I'm going to join. So I need a conjunction here. ومدى اهتمامه بممارسة الرياضة. All right. Now try to get the words that you know and then try to construct your sentence. Okay. Now let me remind you that in English we start usually with the subject and not like Arabic in a verb here. So we start with the subject. All right. So it's an example would be like this. Man's life expectancy. Okay, so this is متوسط عمر الإنسان. All right, and then the verb يعتمد على, I would make it depends on. Of course, you can have other verbs like rely, relies on. Okay, relies on, or any other verb that gives you the meaning. عاداته الغذائية. Okay, here we have eating habits. Now I'm going to join the ha here with the pronoun his. I'm going to replace it with it, so it will be his eating habits. And you can use anyone to join the sentences here. Wa is going to be and. Okay. How interested? This is what مدى اهتمامه. How interested? And then he is. Okay, because I'm talking about man, in practicing sports. Now here it's not a verb, ممارسة, so I'll make it here practicing and sports in general, right? So it's going to read like this. Man's life expectancy depends on his eating habits and how interested he is in practicing sports. Let's do the second example here. يندر وجود دول مسنين في الكويت. All right. نظرا لي, so نظرا لي here أو لما يتمتع به كبار السن من الاحترام والرعاية. Okay, so here we can say that الاحترام, respect, and الرعاية we can say care, so we can say respect and care. Okay, and كبار السن we can use elderly people, okay, or the elderly. All right, and in Kuwait, of course, and don't forget that we write Kuwait with a capital letter, not small. All right, and دور المسنين, you have this in Unit 7, is geriatric homes, okay? And يندرو, it is just means it is rare, okay? So let's construct the sentence now. It's going to be like this. It is rare to find geriatric homes in Kuwait, as elderly people enjoy respect and care, okay? So here, this is how we constructed the sentence. It is rare to find يندر وجود geriatric homes دول المسنين in Kuwait, في الكويت. Not only we could say as, okay, you can say because and so on. Equivalent, we chose here elderly people, you can make it the elderly. And يتمتع, here you can have enjoy, okay? But here we don't have in Arabic يتمتع به, we don't say enjoy with, no, just enjoy, because it's يتمتع به, respect and care, as we explained. Number 3, يعتمد كم النوم, okay? So remember, you have a lesson about sleep, الذي نحتاجه على عوامل عديدة, منها العمر والروتين اليومي والتركيبة الجينية, okay? So here again we have يعتمد. From the first example you can use the same word, depends on, you can use relies on, and so on. And عوامل عديدة. Now عوامل is what is a, yes, a noun, and you have عديدة as an adjective, so in English you need to start with the adjective, so it would be several, and then عوامل, factors. Okay, منها we can say, for example, we can say like, such as, and things like that. We can say some of them are, and then we continue al-umr. This is simple, age. الروتين اليومي, again here this is noun adjective, so I start with اليومي and then a routine, daily routine. And التركيبة الجينية, again I'm going to start with الجينية, which is genetic and makeup. Alright, so let's construct the sentence now. We can say the amount of sleep we need, okay, depends on, this is our verb, and here we have the next one, the عوامل عديدة, adjective, several, and then factors. You can say like, as we said, you can say some of them are, we can say such as, for example, and so on. Age, daily routine, and genetic makeup. Here, remember, we have 1, 2, 3. So we have to use a list. So we can use a comma, and then and then full stop. All right. Well, that's all for our lesson today. I'm going to give you this as a practice. You can do it as a practice. You have here some sentences that are again connected to what you've studied, so you know the vocabulary. And then all you need to do is to construct the sentences to translate them into good English. All right. That's all for this lesson. Thank you very much for paying attention, and see you next time in another asynchronous lesson.